Good evening, heroes and heroines, and welcome to Practising Programming at Sea, where we're going to be looking into a bit of stuff in Cinera. Got an hour and a half of music queued up, in which we can do some stuff. We might go longer than this, or we might, probably will go less long. But we have a few things to look into. So I've actually made a note here. So we indexed Handmade Hero over the weekend. Did it actual indexing yesterday. And for the most recent episode 529, I saw that I needed to. I mean, in the end, I didn't actually need to because I removed this tag, but I tagged a particular annotation with a topic that needed to be added to the CSS file, to the cinera.css _CSS topics. And when that happens, it triggers a rehash of that file and a sort of and it snipes the new checksum into all of the files. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, I spotted that when that happened, apparently it's something to do with the. I think it's something that's linked to the sniping function. It's screwed up our output. So 529 here is ending up with this kind of scrambled output here. If you look at 528, I also spotted just now that this is also screwed. I think all that's happened here, we've got one fewer line. I think all that's happened is that the new line has been overwritten essentially. So there would have been 2 lines, but there's now only the one because the new line's been overwritten. But I think other people are okay. So this Cinera topic is 30 FC 8B0. Is that what that says? 30 F6 C8B0. That's apparently the hash. Yeah, and you can sort of see that going on down there. So I think the hash has been done correctly. But there's some funny business here with other things, and I'm not sure what that could be. It could be that when the sniping happens, it's incorrectly identifying one of the it's incorrectly identifying 528 and 529. In the database, and it's picking out landmarks that are not appropriate for these files. One thing that is weird though is that it's working for everyone. So it's kind of working for everybody apart from people who are in the neighborhood, I assume. Because in order to produce this file, I had to modify 529. So I basically added the prophecies topic to code 529. Right. And when I did that, the neighborhood would have consisted of the code 529 and code 528. And that's the final one. So I guess what we could do is we could first of all start by trying to reproduce it and seeing if that hunch is correct, that it's somehow linked to the neighborhood. That it's only screwing up the apparent sniping, or is screwing up something to do with the neighborhood. And we can further investigate this by making 528 be the person that we're talking about. So that's the first thing that we need to do. There's another thing in the what do you call it? The locate projects function that we did last time. The locate this guy up here, locate project with all this. There's something I want to change in that, which might not have anything to do with this particular bug, but it's just going to be a little tidy up thing. I didn't actually test it. I tested the thing on all of our projects, and it seems to work. It correctly locates all the projects, but I think we could trigger an error case somehow. So I think what I'll do is I'll just make a note of that. It's basically fix locate project, and this is going to include. It's not really fixing necessarily, but it's going to be basically we need to test it. It's basically it's testing a first generation project which has more than 2 children. It's a bit of a weird test, but so it's a generation 1. Right, so for example, and then let's just add something else. I know Mio had another book in mind. Can't remember what it was. Was it a paper? I think it was a paper on something. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, he's going to be doing co-ed reader and Jane Eyre. Just for the hell of it. Right. So that's the third book, and I think this should trigger a failure, and we'll see why. Well, I'll explain why when we get there. And then once we've done those things, we then want to do the actual loop. It's like do the previous loop. Right. Getting all their entries into the database. Before we then go onto the monitor directory function. Do the project loop, getting all their entries. Yeah. So that's basically it. Once we've got all their entries into the database, we can then go back and we'll actually have the information, have some test information to make the sync database function actually do what it needs to do. So then that's basically, yeah. Right, so that's what we're basically doing. Don't know how much we'll get done in this stream. Probably not very much, but we'll see. So yeah, let's run it. I think it should run. I think it should also generate the right stuff. That looks right. That looks right. So now let's just go into here. Let's make one called call. So there we go. We've reinserted 528 and updated this checksum in those topics. So let's see what we get here. Yeah, we get garbage there. We get garbage here, perfect. And if all's well, we don't get garbage here, unfortunately. So, has it been updated? Oh, tell you what, actually. Could be wrong down at the bottom, couldn't it? Let's just try changing the name of this. I guess I could try tweaking Cinera player post, couldn't I? Because that we should have triggered this signpost to be changed. So let's just try Cinera player post. Shouldn't we have seen that? Do we have to change it? Here, I wonder. How do I do this? It's in JS, isn't it? Yeah. Now I would have thought that would have triggered an update. Right, it's definitely not triggering an update, is it? Right, we should be seeing updated checksum something of Cinera player underscore post. So that seems to be broken. Should we just investigate this? Actually, let's just debug the events. And first of all, see if we've even seen the event. Right, so we're I think we're just not pushing the event on. Sorry, it's pushing the watch handle. That's looking right, isn't it? I think. Home attempt Cinera. Home I don't network. So we were looking at this JS Cinera post. This guy has found css/cinera.css. Yeah. So now what are we looking at? Cinera topics.css, which it can be non-existent. That's okay. But it does exist. Cinera_search.js. There's Cinera_player.free. Cinera_player_post.js. So there's our dude. So what happens in here? If it's a symlink, yeah, I suppose we don't know if any of these actually get pushed on, do we? It's all symlink path, so it's doing a read link. Well, are we just losing that path? Is that what's happening? You know, when we get rid of this resolve symlink path, we're not doing a make string, are we? I appreciate we're doing an extend string. Maybe that's sufficient. think really it's supposed to be resolving this path and stuffing the resolved path in there. So that's where it's resolved it to. I think what I don't understand here is why bother to set up this resolved symlink path at all. Right. Because you might as well, you know, if you're setting this up, you might as well just extend that string. You might as well just use that resolved symlink path L here rather than wrap 0i-ing something else. So that seems a bit garbage. But there we've printed out the string. So that was just freeze, but well, I need to go back to where that was. Oh, it says string 0, it's going to do fuck all, isn't it? That's going to be a problem. Right. Right, we're going to come out of here, come into here. The dest is nothing. Oh, mind you, there is a source in there, which has a length of 84. Okay, so fine. Yeah, so we're going to come in here. If there's a dest, realog dest. Car point is equal to the start of dest plus the original length, which should be 0. Okay, so this is doing some stuff. I do think that we want to use this resolved symlink path though. Don't we? I mean, either use it or don't set it, basically. So the asset file path is equal to the resolved path. I think this is garbage, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh no, because we're now resolving something. So what could this be resolving? I think is it word expressions? Oh right, it's these kind of guys. These things. No, there's none of this stuff in here. Right, so we should be getting through here. No problem, shouldn't we? That's the same, isn't it? It might get HTML annotation pushes, annotation system. Cinera play post. Yeah, that looks right to me. I'm now trying to strip a component from that path. So we're trying to watch the directory, are we? If strings differ, the watch handles handle path. So what's that? So we're watching that directory apparently. And this directory. And nothing else. Does that make sense? Home at temp Cinera. CSS. So this is a resolved directory, right? Isn't it? Resolved by read link, that is. Whereas this... Actually, I beg your pardon. This may... Actually, I'm going to take that all back. No, this is fine. This is an actual... yeah, I think this is okay. So basically, right, this directory here is where I'm developing the stuff, right? So this is where I'm sitting right now. Homogit, right? This is here, right? And this is where these files actually reside. The well, this Cinera topics is garbage, but Cinera player post, Cinera player pre. This is where these reside, so this is okay. This thing here is where the cinema_topics.css got generated, which is okay also. So that returns. Okay, so having results. What is the result? Okay, so it knows that the file name is still cineraplayerpost.css.js. It knows it's type 3, which is presumably a JS file, and hashes that. Not 100% sure what file name at actually means. So we've done the built-in assets. I'm not bothered to do that. Yeah, it just resolved it as that, hasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think, just so I remember, let's just do that thing. Push asset watch handle, isn't it? See why we're doing this? I think just want to use that. I think it's actually just, it's just that. Yeah, and also I guess you could just sort of say here, it's this. Right, then you're done. Aren't you? Let's continue there. Oh, it might have screwed up our thing, maybe. Yeah, it might have done. Yeah, it's reloaded the file and it's lost the breakpoint. And also now that we're actually running, I don't think we can insert breakpoints, can we? Which is kind of unfortunate. Now you remember that we did actually push on the right thing, the right watch handle for the directory where the JS file is. I guess we could run to there and see what this comes up with. So there's 8 assets. got Cinera.css, Cinera topics, Cinera open folder. There's our Cinera player post. Cinera sprite send out. And then this is nothing, isn't it? Yeah. Really needs to get down to, oh shit, I wanted to jump into place asset. But there we got our little printout. Cinera temps. So this is resolving to this, which looks fine. And presumably this added a watch handle for this directory. So there's 3 watch handles. It's watching there, there, and there. Yeah, I can understand those. So this is the one that we're interested in. Right. And these are all directories. So if we just list that, this is the directory that we are currently in, right? So when I modify cineraPlayerPost.js, we should be triggering that event, shouldn't we? Watch handles copy string. Step into. Is this even where I am? I'm not even sure if that is. No. This could actually be used the generic fit function, couldn't it? So there's the HTML watch handle is working. So push. We need to say. Do we actually do that? I don't. Yeah, we do. So we say in move to in close right. Watch handles.handle. So that's different, isn't it? Count path. Asset file.path. Now we might as well make these the same, right? Right, because basically this is saying copy this thing into watch handles handle, watch handles count path, right? and then using that path there. This is also doing the same thing, copies that thing into there, but it's not using that itself, it's using this in here. It's not a problem, but we might as well just do it the same way. We're not doing an in delete event. We're setting the type before, but that shouldn't make a difference. Let's just change both of those. Basically push it whilst I watch handle. So where we do a fit, watch handle, you might as well just say fit, and you're saying, well, what are you saying actually? Watch handles. We're reallocating the watch handles.handle. Okay. So that's the thing that we need to be talking about. How many do we want? 8, it said. And let's clear them for the fun of it. Right, that should be right, shouldn't it? And then we could do the same thing in the push in the other dude. Now, even if we do need to resize, that should keep everybody okay, shouldn't it? And this guy also is looking at the HTML dir. It's not looking at the entries themselves. Just double check that I called that fit function correctly, by the way. The base width in bytes, item count, items per block, and 0 initialized. The base width count, items per block, and the 0 initialized, yeah. So where's the fit watch handles call? Just get rid of that. Okay, so that seems to be okay. Should just be in, shouldn't it? Ah, that's -1. Ah, interesting. And that does mean failure, doesn't it? Or doesn't it? Oh, we can't step into that, can we not? That's -1. What happens if you go into the other guy? Oh, right, that's -1 as well. Let's take a look at that, actually. On success, I notify add watch, which is a non-negative watch descriptor. On errors, -1 is returned and error number set appropriately. Okay, then. Invalid argument, really? So what does it want? So previously, if you remember, we were passing something else, weren't we? I notify add watch. What's this supposed to be taken? It's supposed to take an FD. Oh, right. Oh, hang on a minute. How's that worked? All this. I notify instance. Oh, right. It's the I. Sorry. What's the FD? The FD argument is a file descriptor referring to the iNotify instance. Yeah. The specific. The file descriptor. The call must have read permission for this file. The FD argument is. If the file system object was not previously being watched by this iNotify instance. Which one? iNotify instance. Oh, right. Oh, shit. How did I not realise that all this time? That's amazing. We've not got a bad file descriptor, have we? That's now 1. Doesn't that mean it succeeded? Yeah, I just think that it didn't. Well, I mean, I don't know, but what is the identified instance? That's 8. Okay. So that was a success this time. Identify instance. What is that now? That's now 8. And what's the descriptor? 5. Let's just let it continue. So we've got an enclosed write on cinera.topics.css, continuing. So at least we're getting some events coming through now. What is this? Cinera play post. All right. So we now actually get the. We're now actually monitoring that event. Blimey. We've hit a breakpoint, have we? On line 1748. Oakley. So 2517 HTML file, Snapchat semi-closed file. Yeah, right. So this is garbage, isn't it? I think this is where we're finally actually able to debug our problem. Yeah, you can see that this landmark has got screwed up. Right, this should say Cinera underscore play underscore post .js and then have the stuff there. So that's what I was trying to trigger there. Basically following the edit of this, I wanted to see if that would affect this, and basically it hasn't updated the landmark, essentially. So I think, let us go to this directory. Move the database out of the way to Cinera busted. Right, this is the stuff. Let's just see if we can still trigger this error. So this guy's called this, same name. Let's go to the JS and just change its checksum. Okay, so simply doing that prompts this to fail. In this instance though, I'm not sure where it failed, but, or when, you can see that this, well, what was the checksum supposed to change to? It's supposed to change to 0B. Alright, yeah, so that doesn't change in the slightest. So let's jump in and see what's going on. That's assuming actually we can even trigger this again. CB. I guess this time it didn't recognize the difference in the hash. CB, yeah. I think we've got our case, haven't we? Basically all you need to do is you need to run it. What was that saying? Fetching quotes couldn't resolve host name. Oh shit. I hope I haven't screwed up InsoBot or the quote site. Okay, so they're still up. Yeah, so I think what I need to do is I can just save this and it just trigger it. Yeah, cool. I actually need to just do the step in, don't I? And I think now that we know that the event's happening, we can just go back to the debug events and just turn that off again, because we know that we're actually processing the actual events. So oh, we're still in the pre error. Yeah, let's redo it. So that looks right to me. I can buy that. That was in file. Now, what about the HTML file? that looks like complete garbage, doesn't it? Or does it? Oh, sorry, beg your pardon, that looks okay. It does look alright, actually. There's no handle, is there? The handle gets set here. So yeah, the HTML file path is this file here. The landmarking file was saying there's one. Do we know what asset we're talking about? I don't suppose we do we? Update asset in DB, we'd have to know, well, I guess asset index 5. So I guess we're kind of going to find it. Okay. So yeah, we're talking about cineplayerpost.js. So that looks very much like a JEPSON to me. So we're operating on the 539, wasn't it? 529. So basically what we've done is we've just loaded in this file, and we're looking at 0B4CC 064, so that 61. So this is right down here, right? And all we're trying to do, checksum comes in as a buffer. I'm not sure why that's got to be a buffer and not a string. Do you know what I mean? Is this 8? Yeah. So we've copied that in. We're going to open this file up. I'm going to write out that buffer size and close it, right? So we should see that this has now changed to be a different value. It used to be 0B4CC061, it still is. That's not right, is it? Hero code 529/index.html. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but closing that file should have done what we needed to do, shouldn't it? I guess we don't know what the checksum was. I mean, I suppose, now that I think about it, this particular file might have been right. So this is 0B4cc. 0B4cc. So apparently it thinks that it's trying to snipe the same checksum. Generation 1 is index 0. Do you remember that we were talking about fixing up the locate project function, by the way? This does look to be okay. I mean, is it going to fail? It does fail. So we're talking about index 5. Can we access this? No. Two 517. Now the trouble, we also can't determine, like, we can't tell where anybody is failing to get anything, can we? Well, there's something going wrong there. Zero B. Yeah, we need to somehow oh, and it's also the output, isn't it? The output. Okay, just to... Yeah, it's the output location is what we're talking about. I hope that's what we're operating on. So if the strings match, the wrap 0 of that and the wrap 0 of code 82. Blimey, that's still not enough. Right, code 082 is problematic. So let's remove the database. Remove this. Let's leave that as it was. Generate the stuff. And then if I'm not mistaken, we just run to here. Edit this file. And then see what we've been given. Right, so this file does exist. This looks okay. As far as I can tell, this is going to actually succeed. So there's one landmark in this file. So this is right there. So there's more space remaining, so that should work, shouldn't it? I guess what is the checksum? So the checksum is CBB, right? But it used to be 0B, something. So right, so we're seeing here, we've got this checksum here. Where's that exactly? Is it 8? Yeah. So that should have happened. Loads the file in, closes it, right? And now we should be seeing that 0B4CC061 has changed to become CBB 7C06B. Yeah, and it has. So we didn't fail in that situation. Because it was this line, wasn't it, if you remember, that actually fails. Snap checksum enclosed file is operating on the first line. Should that be operating on the first landmark? Should we just step through into there and just see that again? Basically, I'm wondering if we could. It's taking the running landmark index, right? I think I'd like to pass the asset through to that function so we can actually just see what we're talking about. Landmarks in file is 1. Yeah, I'm inclined to say, let's make this snap checksum enclosed file take the asset, get the first landmark itself, and then this guy can do his thing. I don't know if this will help us, but it just gives us the asset to actually talk about. I suppose actually, now that I think about it, you know, when we get to here, we could actually have a check, couldn't we? Because this thing fails. We could like say, I mean, I guess we could do the test and copy both sides even. We could just break before it actually fails, but we want to. I suppose we want to be in here actually, don't we? So we can actually got all the stuff. So let's just do that. So rather than taking the first landmark, this takes the asset. Same with that, frankly. I mean, why should that take the first landmark? Yeah, I mean, all these guys are literally talking about the first landmark. First landmark project. Like, this isn't caring about the project range, is it? Llama range, so it's supposed to be setting it to be the project range. If the project range dot length is greater than 0, lower is equal to the project range first. What I'm basically wondering is, shouldn't this be operating on the project's range? So here's our project range. Binary search method landmark is taking the asset and the project range. So it's basically saying it needs to find end pre-deletion this index for this asset in this project range. Right. So surely we should only be operating ever on the first landmark down here should never be a thing that we're talking about, should it? Right, we should always be talking within the range of the project. Does that make sense? right? And then lower itself. Is that actually what I'm talking about here? Is that asset? Yeah, we are talking about DB asset. the landmark plus landmark index. So we've got entry index. Lower is a pointer, isn't it? Get index range. There's the first landmark. Yeah, you know what? I'm inclined to say that what you're actually supposed to be doing here is saying get index range of the project range, right? So you pass in the project range, the entirety from the first to the length. So that just comes in. That doesn't get modified. And then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to constrain your search to those. So although you can take the entire asset, right, and don't take the first landmark or the first landmark project, I mean that's doesn't matter, right? Does it? What is entry index? I think is that what we're sending in? Yeah. So if the entry index is equal to the lower landmark entry index, get index range will we're trying to get the index range of the lower. So why don't we just sort of say that we use that in that entry index? The entry index of the lower, because that's right here. What is lower actually? Oh, lower is the thingy. But there's nothing to stop us from passing the actual landmark, is there? So we're searching the assets for an index range. We're taking the project range, which is the all of them. We're searching specifically for this index, and we're starting from here. Now, Yeah, I suppose this bit out here has performed the binary search side of it, so it sort of gets us down to where the lower is. Could that be a problem for anywhere else? So this guy does have the asset available. The project range it's got. The entry index is going to be the running index, isn't it? Or this. If the current target first landmark, take 1. Yeah, this could be screwing us over actually, can't it? Oh, but hang on. Current target space, create the project range first. Yeah, and also if there was a prev anyway. Because all we're trying to do here, in determining the former target, is to figure out the number of landmarks that are associated with the previous project, a previous entry. So this is that entry index. We don't know the landmark, do we? Well, we're sort of saying that the DB landmark prior is theirs, aren't we? First landmark -1. If current target dot first is greater than that, I guess what we're trying to look for is this would be the entry index, maybe? So this is the thing that we're looking for. And then do you pass that as the other thing? Entry index. Well, no, you'd be passing the prior entry index, wouldn't you? And this value here is going to be the current target first -1. Although now I think about it, Couldn't that just as well be the running index? In the same way that it is down here. Current target is one of the things. So let's talk about this target. So that has found this target there. Current target at first -1. So now that I think about it, this get index range, again, all we're trying to do is getting a range within a range. So in all of these cases, we could just say, we're looking in the asset, we've got the project range is the range of assets that we're looking in. Sorry, range of landmarks that we're looking in. And we're looking for all of the ones that match the entry index. Right? That should be sufficient, shouldn't it? Like, there's nothing more complicated that needs to happen there, as far as I'm aware. Right? Well, I suppose actually this one is saying we need to be talking about the lower, don't we? We do actually need to be, yeah. because entry index can make it incoming. That's the actual incoming dude. So I think what we actually need is lower pivot. And upper. Right. So that's going to be our starting point. We need to be then searching out from that starting point only as far as that project range. Right, because the entry index is actually the index of the entry, obviously. The HTML, the annotations entry. So yeah, in a similar way, this guy should just be saying, take this, project range, right? Shouldn't that be right? And then you write out to the former target dot first. You write out from there to the size of the DB landmark until the forward target first. Now, why are we doing this exactly? Why are we writing out from the first landmark plus the size of DB times the running index, the size of a landmark, until the current target dot first? Shouldn't we be saying... Shouldn't we be writing the first... Yeah, shouldn't we just be writing out the first landmark up to the current target dot first? I mean, this is effectively going to end up evaluating to the same thing, because the size of DB landmark times the running index comes in as 0. So I think this is garbage. Doesn't do anything. Just change get index range to do the actual thing that we're thinking it should do. So we've taken the asset, what was it? The project range. How do you do this? Index range or something? Landmark range. And the landmark index. Right. Right, then with the landmark count, who cares? I mean, that's just like part of the project range, right? So what we're saying is, let's get the first landmark first of all. I mean, it's just while landmark index is greater than the project range, isn't it? And the thing matches. Maybe greater than or equal to? I'm not sure. Let's create the project range. And the entry index is equal to the landmark index. So we decrement that. And we say the new landmark is that. If the project indices match project index, yeah, I don't think we need to adjust, do we? Because we know what the actual project range is. If we got down to there, we know that the landmark is just that. Now, why do we set the landmark here exactly? All we're trying to do is just adjust that for the result first. So my contention is that we don't need to bother setting that landmark because it's not getting used, is it? So you just set that result first to be the landmark index that we just got. And then this person just does the same deal. It's like, it takes the same stuff, the asset, the project range, and the landmark index, and it just has to go until it's got all the stuff, basically. Right? And then this is just the other way around, isn't it? Oh yeah, and the entry index is equal to that. Well, hold on a minute. Well, this is less than that, and the entry index is equal to the landmark entry index. Why don't we just do plus plus result? I guess, yeah, we're getting the landmark out first, and then we're only incrementing it if it still matches. But isn't that a bit garbage? Shouldn't we just say the landmark index could be 0. The project range could also be, project range first could be 0 too. Plus project range length. Well, yeah, I mean, like, if the project range length is 0, then shouldn't it be able to get a result of 0? It just seems like it should be able to, shouldn't it? And then either way, you just increment the result. And then actually set that new landmark. Oh, hang on a second. I guess the first line. Yeah, first landmark entry index. Well, hold on a second. Landmark index. So we're starting off with the landmark index at the first thing. Well, hang on a second. It's not actually that, is it? It's like the what was that saying? First landmark plus landmark index. I mean, sure. Now that I think about it, why not sort of locate landmark? Which takes a And I mean, oh yeah. Because we don't care about the first landmark at all, do we? Or do we? Oh, we kind of do actually. Can't we just decrement that landmark? Or rather, plus it. And for that matter, landmark index. Yeah, I suppose we are doing that, aren't we? Project range and the landmark index. So what we're looking at is this prev, snipe checks with HTML. So we've got the project range apparently. Do we have that? For the running landmark index, I think it's just that, isn't it? Oh no, it's not, because it's project range. So really, get index range length, project range. So I guess it's the entirety of the landmarks, isn't it? Really, is that true? Yeah, and actually now that I think about it, we probably do need to actually check that the first landmark of range, you know, check that the actual project indices match. Similarly, the other person. So that could have just screwed up a whole bunch of stuff. But should we just run it and just see what happens? Yeah, so that didn't really help much. I'm getting pretty hungry, so I might actually just go and get some food. And then see about continuing with this tomorrow. I suppose at the very least, we could just step through those functions that we just changed. So we're into getting this range length. What did we just change? We just changed lock. So I believe we're attempting to get the range of these landmarks. Entry index 2330 position that. So as I understand it, what is approach range dot length? So it's 335 landmarked for this project. I can believe that. Should we see if we're getting? We do get in, so we're incrementing the length of the results. Incrementing the landmark index. Incrementing the landmark. So we're currently looking at this landmark here. I'm going to increment that landmark, and we're now looking at a landmark with entry index -1 and position 488. So that doesn't look right, does it? Generation 0 -1. Shouldn't the next landmark be... Shouldn't that -1 landmark always be positioned at the start? Looking at code 528. And we're trying to snipe in the checksum C7 CFA CF thingy. Trying to snipe it into here. So it's CE7, so that's already that. So doesn't that mean that that's wrong? It's just straight up not right. Because we generated this. We should be talking about this being the first one, shouldn't we? Yeah, so this, I think the neighbourhood just isn't set up right. The landmarks in file is 1, isn't it? Yeah. That's not going to do anything because it won't. And that was interesting, wasn't it? The first landmark actually, or was that actually the first landmark? What are we up to here? Yes, the first landmark was 528. Yeah, so this has passed, as I thought it would, because we just saw the next one was -1. So that's -1 again, is it? It's interesting. After we just incremented past that landmark. And another one, yeah, it's positioned at the same position. So yeah, I think this is all garbage. So now apparently we've got a length of 2, haven't we? Yeah, which is complete nonsense. Well, Yeah, I just don't know. Let's continue this tomorrow. Yeah, it's decided. Continuing tomorrow. So thank you very much, Heroes and Heroines, for being here, for being fantastic. And for being productive, I guess. Until next time, farewell for now.